Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Adi. Today, with Lieutenant General Dushyant Singh, we're asking a big question and a big statement. India, Afghanistan, and the country in between. What is that country is anybody's guess at the moment. Pakistan. What will happen to Pakistan? It's open to everybody's guess. We'll try and talk about it a little bit. And Sir will obviously tell us a little historical background to this relationship and give us a little bit of insight as to what is going to happen in the future. Sir, good evening and welcome to the show, sir.
Good evening, Adi. I think we'll take a little different take today. So let's see how it goes on.
Ha, sir. The question at the end of it that we will be asking is how should India handle a collapsing Pakistan? Let's take
Yeah,
a peek
that's
into history and
yeah.
learn a little bit, sir. May I switch on the slide, sir?
Yes, you can. You can. Well, today I want to put the entire situation which is occurring in front of us for the last few years into some kind of a context, a historical context. There were two basically big civilizations, or three, I would say: China, India, and Persia. India, I would say, was described by various empires which were there in India during the period before Christian era and also after the Christian era started. So, India could be safely assumed that the empires were fairly stable up to the Indus. And across the Himalayas were the Chinese. And across the Indus, there was a land which I would probably refer to as a no man's land. And then we had the Persian Empire. This no man's land is like the snake which is coiled around either the west or the east. So you will see a seesaw battle over this land between the empires or between the great powers which were either on the west or on the east. In the initial part of our historical background, India was a region to reckon with, and so was Europe or Caucasus, as they call it, and the Persians. These were two big areas of civilization which were kind of vying for power. In fact, the world was by and large known as this particular mainland. Nobody knew about the Americas. Americas got discovered much later. So it was this was the world view, if you would like to call it. So you found that over the ages, this land has been actually trampled by empires, whether they were coming from the east or the west. So let's have the next slide to show you as to how many empires from 2500 BC have actually been, coming over this part of the this territory called Afghan region. I would call it as AFPAC region in current context, but it was basically an Afghan region. There was no country like Pakistan, not and I think the way things are happening, it is actually reaching its dead end. That is, it will be a country which is not known to anyone after a few years or maybe decades, the way things are happening out there. So, if you start from 2500 years back, you would find that the Persian Empire was by and large controlling this region. They were also known as Achaemenid Empire, and they also found their match in Alexander. So when Alexander came in, he ruled over this region, albeit for a very short period, went up to Indus, but due to various region extended supply chain of his logistics, he had to retreat, and then this whole area again went back into chaos. So you had then the Mauryans who came in. Then you had again the Greco-Bactrians, which tried to create an empire in this particular region. Then their kingdom was on the banks of Amo Darya, which is now the Chinese interest for exploring oil in this part of the land. Then you had the Indo-Greek kingdoms. These were the people who were left behind by Alexander, and then they started consolidating and tried to create some kind of a rule over this region. Then you had the Arab rulers, Mongols coming in. Before that, I would like to also talk about that. When Achaemenid, the Persian Empire was there, Gandhara Empire was also in this particular region, but it got trampled on and off by the various attackers who came in, and finally it disappeared after a while. And then you had the Cambodge, you had the Alexandria and Arcosia, then you had Kushan Empire, and finally you had the White Huns. White Huns are the Rajputs of what we see today, and they came right up to Gujarat and this part of the country, and they only finally settled here, and then they became the martial class of this part of India. With a similar logic, you will find various Pathan empires which are existing in India. Nawab of Pataudi is the Pathan Empire. So these people started settling, getting assimilated into this region. But by and large, the region between Indus and Iran has remained a very, very unstable region. And history is proving it to be that way with the modern empires biting the dust. You
Mhm.
had the British, then you had the Russians, then you had the Americans, and now it seems that no one has the stomach to actually put their boots on ground in this part of the. Probably the lesson learned from history is that this part of the region was best managed by the Mauryans and the Mughals. They bought their peace in one line. They used to pay to the local leaders, tribal leaders, whosoever was the local boss. They would pay money to them and ensure that their lines of communication remained untouched.
Mm, mm,
They would not control the interiors. You're getting my point?
mm,
They only ensured that their economics, the trade of the Mughals kept flowing from the east to the west to the east and east to the west. Similarly, the British also learnt it much later after losing a number of wars that it is better to leave these guys on their own, buy your peace, and control the region through economic power than uh, through some kind of a military power. The Chinese, to my mind, seem to be doing that now, and the Indians have always been doing it. And we will discuss as to how India is trying to engage this region, and I think that's the best way to engage it. We must learn from the history, and that's why I got this thing. Now, if we are able to manage Afghanistan, which is ideologically totally opposite our ideology,
mm,
then I think Pakistan, which is culturally, I'm not saying religiously, but culturally fairly close to the Indian culture of North India, would be much more easier. But this will not happen overnight. This will take possibly a long, long time to happen. We need to wait for Pakistan to wither away. And wither away it will, the way the situation is there. I think at this point I would take a little break from my discourse and then discuss how two countries in the region are dealing with kind of similar situation which they are facing in a totally different manner, and that will possibly give the answer to how India should manage Pakistan or how should Pakistan manage. Both the answers will come from the way I'm going to cover Afghanistan and Pakistan. So let's first go to the good model. The good
mm.
model is that of Afghanistan. Next one, yes. Now, if you look at Afghanistan, see, Afghanistan was a country created by ex-terrorists or a group which was a banned terrorist organization, both in the UN and by the US and by many other countries in the region. So it was facing a challenge, and challenge was of legitimacy
Hmm.
because it has still not been recognized by any country in the world. So it is not even a member of the United Nations. So it is not able to accrue the benefits which come to a sovereign nation if it is part of a global community. So it is in a worse situation than Pakistan. You getting my point? Second thing, now it has got another problem on its hand. Pakistan thought, or for that matter, Imran Khan at that point in time in 2021 thought that they have helped Taliban to uh, gain power in Afghanistan. So they have a, a prime right over Afghanistan. That means Afghanistan, Taliban should be at the beck and call of Pakistan. We must remember that once you take power, once you become government, you would not like to put all the eggs in one basket, and that too a basket like Pakistan, which is having seeds of the basket is only having leaks and leaks all over. So how is Afghanistan going to be assured that Pakistan will be able to look after Afghanistan? It can't look after itself. How is it going to ensure that diplomatically it gets the required importance in the global community? Economically, it is helped out. So obviously, Afghanistan Taliban has to look elsewhere. So the next thing was its economy. The money was frozen by US as far as the reserves were concerned. The overall inflation rates were high. The various infrastructure projects which were taking place during the US presence in Afghanistan had come to a grinding halt. Diplomatically, it was isolated. Infrastructure which was created was becoming non-functional. All its airports were non-functional. There was staff not available to deal with these things. Agencies were not available. Its military and security training, which was primarily being looked after by the Americans and to a great extent by the Indians. See, India was very deeply involved in training its military and security personnel. They used to come regularly. All that had come to a grinding halt. Now, so this was the problem of any nation, any legitimate nation, which Taliban was saddled with. Unfortunately, it was also saddled with an ideology, which is Devbandi, which is contrary to all that which goes with the nation. So it has to now deal with two conflicting requirements. It
Hmm.
has given assurance to the world and to US in particular that its land will not be used by terrorist organization. But lo behold, Al Zawahiri gets killed in Afghanistan. So therefore, Afghanistan was even worse situation than Pakistan. That is what I'm trying to get at. Inflation was high, drug, uh, drug and narcotics crimes were high. The opium production had increased in Afghanistan. Worldwide, it had reduced. In this kind of an environment, where it was running short of money also, Afghanistan has been able to very deftly manage both the part of its problems, ideational problem as well as the governance problem. What has it done? A, for diplomacy, it is exploiting. So, in the United Nations, the concerns of Afghanistan are projected by Qatar. Economically, it has befriended Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia keeps on giving it regular aid in some form or the other and ensures that it remains afloat. For infrastructure operations, it has given bulk of its contracts to UAE. So all its airports, etc., are running well. Now comes the military security part or the training of its military personnel. When the officers who went back or the soldiers who went back from India, they had no other option but to join the. I mean, some would not have joined, but bulk joined back under the Afghan Taliban government, and they got a very positive feedback of what India was doing. Also, India was led to enter in this neighborhood of Afghanistan. There were six countries which were meeting regularly to ensure that Afghan Taliban changes its government to a more inclusive government. Today, there are no members who are other than Pashtuns. Two I think Tajiks are there, and one or more tribe is represented. Otherwise, bulk of the people in the governance are all Pashtuns. So the neighboring countries, including Russia, got together. Russia, China also, they all got together, six of them: Iran, Russia, China, and the three Pakistan and Tajikistan and Kazakhstan and one more Uzbekistan. So these countries have got together and have been trying to find some kind of a solution to Afghan governance problems. India was not there in this grouping. Although in one of the meetings, the second meeting, Russia invited India, and that was the toehold which we used. Both India's influence with Qatar and Russia was used to interact with Afghan Taliban, and now India India's people-centric approach was appreciated by Afghan Taliban. It doesn't mean that we should blindly go in for supporting Afghan Taliban. No, we should look at it from a long-term perspective. Who knows for how long Taliban will survive? But people of Afghanistan will remain. So from a long and Afghanistan, people of Afghanistan traditionally have been pro-India, have been pro-India despite the religious differences. So you getting my point? From a long-term perspective, India needs to remain engaged with Afghan Taliban also. And since they are welcoming you, you go there with caution. And India has done the right thing by sending its technical team there of embassy, not a full-fledged embassy. So we are trying to test the waters and also giving them humanitarian aid in terms of medicines, as also wheat, which now Afghanistan is flying in their own trucks from our borders across Pakistan. So the approach which India is taking for Afghanistan, to my mind, is fairly good. Your enemy's neighbor is your
Mhm.
friend. So by doing this, we are also trying to influence Iran to support Afghanistan. So that is why now Afghanistan has agreed to Chabahar port being developed. Obviously, now
Mhm.
Gwadar and Karachi are unreliable. So Afghanistan Taliban guys are reading better. They know that between Gwadar, Karachi, and Chabahar and Jask are a better bet. These are ports of a very stable country. They are not going to disappear. Iran will not disappear. Pakistan may disappear. Afghanistan may change form, but Iran will remain. It's a very old civilization. It has a base which is very difficult to make it unstable. You getting my point? So therefore, Afghanistan has changed tack. Talibanis have changed tack. They're looking more westward for their logistics supply. So connectivity, which India was looking to the Central Asian belt via Chabahar, is now being achieved slowly and steadily.
That road also we've made, na? That Chabar
The
to
road
Zang.
has been, yeah, and uh, TAPI, of course, cannot come through till Pakistan gets resolved. Okay, I'm talking of the Tajikistan pipeline. was supposed to come up to Turkmenistan pipeline, which was supposed to come up to India. But sooner or later, as and when the situation becomes under our overall control or favor, maybe this may see the light of the day. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is Afghanistan has managed its economy, has managed its international relations, has managed its internal politics through hard hand or military power, whatever be, much better way than Pakistan. Of course, Afghanistan cannot be praised for its anti-woman and anti-humanitarian laws which they have put on the put on their people. That's definitely it cannot be supported at any cost. But overall, if you look at them, I think they are doing much better job of managing a country who had no experience, no bureaucratic experience whatsoever. Now let's look at Pakistan. Let's go to the next one. I am putting Pakistan here purely. I am saying the challenges to the army chief, and there is a reason for it. Why? You see, historically, whether there was a army government or military government, or whether there was a civilian government, the power came from the military only. You take Nawaz Sharif, Benazir Bhutto, barring Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's that one shining period when the civilian government was really powerful. It was really powerful. Other than that, all the civilian governments have actually been propped up by the support of Pakistani army. Even if not propped up, once these governments came into being, they were looking at the army for their nod for every major action. In fact, international relations were totally dominated by the Pakistani army, are being dominated by Pakistani army.
Still, yeah.
So as far as international relations are concerned, as far as security matters are concerned, it was Pakistan Army's right. Government be whatever they are in the so that's the reason why I put the this particular slide as challenge to the Pak Army chief. There is a difference between the previous chiefs and Munir. I have been reading the personalities of both. I realize that Munir seems to be, I may be wrong, seems to be media shy, and
Mhm.
he also seems to be not very much of a person who wants to be in the spotlight. So maybe he'll be pulling the strings from behind and he's possibly looking for opportunities. But let's see what is the condition of Pakistan before we go further. Domestic politics, internal instability at its peak, dealing with an increasingly charismatic Imran Khan,
Mhm.
unhandleable. Now there are talks that if we can't arrest him, let's ban PTI. Now they've gone to the level, and these are the reports coming from the media of Pakistan and others that probably the current government and maybe Mr. General Munir from behind are looking at banning the PTI so that it can't take part in the election. The current government and by extension, I suppose the army is also in favor of not conducting the elections. And the
Mm.
reason which they are lack of funds, which is right to some extent, because today they are into the only problem which they are facing is lack of funds. Okay, let's look at their economy. I'll not go exactly by the slides which are there. IMF has still not given them the loan.
Not
Why?
one pie.
Why? The answer is that they are not sure whether this will be the government after a few months,
Yeah.
whether the conditions which they have agreed to will be followed by the next government. What if Imran Khan becomes the prime minister? What if the army decides to take over the country? So IMF is, dragging its feet as far as release of the money is concerned. How much has Pakistan to pay? By June, it has to pay 3 billion on the ground that 4 billion will be rolled over. Will China again agree to a rollover of 4 billion? I don't know.
And by the way, they've stopped doing rollovers. So they say, give us the money and then we'll give it back to you.
Then, yes, absolutely. You first pay back the money, then we'll roll over the next tranche or whatever it is. So
That's what they've
point
started
is,
doing now.
if they give 3 billion there, what is left for them to put it in capital expenditure? Nil. The total capital expenditure of a good country should be around 10 to 15%. They are on to 2 to 3%.
That also is doubtful, sir.
And so where is the money for maintenance of the infrastructure which they are having? They are into shit is a very very low word for for the economic situation with these
Light
economies.
word. Hmm.
Yeah, let's see the US China dynamics. The Chinese would not like Pakistan to get into the US ambit, and the US would not like the Chinese to take Pakistan totally dependent on China. Because if I now paint you a picture, China, Pakistan, Central Asian republics by and large eating out of Chinese hands, Russia, Iran, Saudi Arabia. What are you seeing? The US areas of influence are being gradually eaten away. You just put it on the map, global map, and you find that there is a in हिंदी में बोलते हैं ध्रुवीकरण हो रहा है. There is a convergence which is taking place, and the smug face of Xi Jinping when he was meeting Putin yesterday clearly shows this confidence that he was the guy who managed to bring together Saudi Arabia and Iran,
Yeah.
a thing which you couldn't even think of. I mean, nobody could think of Saudi Arabia and Iran. But what is the interest of China? Energy. भूखा है. वो एनर्जी का भूखा है. 80% उसका इंपोर्ट होता है. रशिया, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. What has he done? He has virtually taken over the oil market of the
Hmm.
virtually. So therefore, US would not like at this stage to let go of Pakistan influence it has in Pakistan because it gives him two advantages. One, it has an overwatch over Chinese activity as also Afghanistani activities. Plus, it will have a foothold in the Arabic world, I mean, the Islamic world with UAE, Saudi Arabia, etc. The US presence, I think, may increase in times to come because of the way things are panning out geopolitically. Right. So US China dynamics is very important. Indian challenge. Sorry for some mistakes. Approach of Bajwa, it's written Barwa. Approach of Bajwa was lay off India. Let's look at our problems, solve them. Munir seems to be following a similar kind of approach, but only time will tell whether they will. See, the ceasefire is holding on for now almost 1.5 years. So there, so therefore, they were also trying to keep their eastern borders quiet and then focus on internal problems, western problems. As of now, they have more of a western problem than eastern problem as far as Pakistan is concerned. With
But
GDP the way it is behaving
this
and
is
the internal, yeah.
this is militarily, sir. But otherwise, he's involved with this whole Khalistan thing again and this and that. So
I'm coming to that. Coming to that. That was of Bajwa. I'm talking. Till the time Bajwa was there, it was not happening so openly. Now, whether Munir is directly involved in the Khalistani problem, I can't say, but definitely ISI was dealing with Khalistani problem from not from now, from way back. It's not a new agenda of Pakistan. They have been supporting the. In fact, their Gurpatwan Singh Pannu has been there for ages there. In
Yeah,
Pakistan, he's
he took
been
training also there, and he was in jail for some 30 months in UK for that.
so. Their decision of these guys to sometimes people whom you create go out of your control also. And today the Khalistan issue is not only Pakistan, it's become global. US, Canada, UK, these are the four areas which are now the hub of Khalistan support,
Australia is big.
both from the financing point of view also, and from moral as well as material support. Pakistan is the conduit, and ISI provides the means to make this conduit reach Punjab. All those drones which are coming across India, initially they tried with balloons, etc. So, to send across military equipment, drugs along with that. See, after all, if you send the drug also, it's a crime. It's a crime money, and crime money goes for what? Ultimately it gets siphoned off for terror related activities. So it's been an old process going on. I won't say that they have to do something. They have to do something to ensure that. And why they have done it in Khalistan? Because वहां पे ceasefire agreement है ना.
Hmm.
कश्मीर में ceasefire agreement है. Let's extend the area. Let's go into areas and say it is not our problem. We don't support Khalistan. They are doing it on their own. It's an indigenous problem of India. You see, a lot of deniability is there in Khalistani support.
Yeah, because of its
So
spread in UK, UK and all that stuff. So thoda sa.
yeah, so there is a huge deniability factor there.
Hmm.
In
Hmm.
Kashmir, the deniability because openly they have been supporting. As far as Khalistan is concerned, they have not been openly supporting. Mind you, they have not given statements that we respect or we give moral support to Khalistan's interests. No. So there is a slight difference between the two. They are supporting underhand.
Hmm.
Okay. So let's look at it from that point of view. Nuclear, I've already said they are in a very, very. President Biden has said that it is the most incohesive region in which these nuclear weapons are lying there.
Even IMF has asked for them to reduce their missile program.
Yeah, yeah, and also the budget. Also, I think budget they have told them to reduce by 10 to 15%. इतना होगा, they are demanding more money. How can they reduce the budget? Then you have the Durand line and talks with TTP and the gray zone activity, which both sides are now trying to do as far as Afghanistan challenge is concerned. The TTP is being supported by Afghan Taliban. It has come out loud and clear. They are providing them the basis. And ISKP, which is against Taliban, is being supported by Pakistan's ISI.
I say.
When you get involved in these kind of activities, are you really going to see progress? You're only further weakening your administrative governance structure. And I am not talking at all about the Baluchistanis, Gilgit, Baltistan. I'm not talking of Sindh. Everywhere protests are coming up. So Pakistani situation, to my mind, is like uh, it's like I can't even describe its situation. It's not a situation which any country would be happy with. Leave aside happy with, would like to live in it. The prices have shot 25 to 30 times more than what they are of daily needs. Onion is giving them क्या बोलते हैं, आंसू बहा रहा है. अनियन आंसू बहा रहा है उनके आंखों में. इतनी ज्यादा महंगी हो गई है अनियन. सो कहने का मतलब है कि उनकी चारों तरफ से लगी हुई है. they have been they have their it is like that old famous saying, "My right is falling, my left is falling." Situation, fine, tally ho, right? So that is the situation as far as Pakistan is concerned. They are absolutely in doldrums. What are they doing to improve this situation? Zilch. They are fighting amongst themselves politically. For what? For power gains. The army seems to be by and large supporting Shehbaz Sharif quietly, so it is not intervening into what the civilian government is trying to do with Imran Khan. The cases against Imran Khan are all farcical, all farcical.
Useless
None of
cases.
these cases, none of the cases will stand. He has got bail and he has got exemption from arrest till 30th March. So he has been given another lease of life of about 8, 7, 8, 9 days in which to create more problems. There is no positive movement. In such a situation, ideally, nations will get together. It's like war for them. Nations would get together and form a national government, form a form a form a approach which is acceptable to everyone. Look at the problems which the country is facing. That would be a rational thinker. Why aren't they doing it?
Because they're not, sir.
And the last, yeah, and the last bit which I want to tell is why isn't the public of Pakistan coming on the street against a situation which is directly hitting their bread, butter, roti, kapda, and makan? So I was reading the other day in a article exactly about this thing because it was fascinating me. Why aren't they going on the streets?
Hmm.
So that article said that there are three things required for people to come on the streets. First, time, resource, and money. Time and resources, and the leadership. Time, resource, and leadership. Now the common public is so busy trying to make ends meet to buy one square meal, it doesn't have the time to go on the street. Resource, any movement requires money. You take the example of India. Whenever these protests are launched, have you seen what happened during the farmers' protest? Tents, tamboos, what have you, massage guys
Some
there,
sports shop,
trying.
some sports shop
Yeah,
guy
so
made a lot of money.
absolutely. So that is the kind of money required.
Yeah,
They are getting no. Leadership. Leadership comes from where? Either from the
most of
common man or from political parties. I believe there is a communist party equivalent which has been created because of this situation. Its name is Haluk or something. I'm not able to recollect. Which is trying to do this thing, trying to awaken the public, but they have no resources. They have no money to actually mobilize these people because if they mobilize, they have to give them the money to eat. अदरवाइज वो कहीं जाके इधर उधर काम करके अपना घर का खाना घर चला रहा है तो उसको पैसा देंगे तो घर के लिए पैसा दे देगा और अपने आप सड़क पे आएगा फिर वो so the leadership is lacking. Instead, what is the leadership doing? Fighting among themselves. For that, they can mobilize public on the streets because they have the money, they have the black money, informal money जो informal economy से निकलता है वो वहां लगा रहे हैं. तो पब्लिक आती है उनके साथ डंडा लेकर के, लाठी लेकर के, गन्स लेकर के, गन्स खरीद करके. They come. So how can a country improve? So I would like to end my one-way discourse by saying that I read one of the comments and it said, one of the audience comments which said, "Let Pakistan wither away on its own sooner or later, and then India can thereafter take on from whatever is there. We don't have to do anything as far as Pakistan is concerned. The way they are going, they are doomed to fail and fail badly. It will take time. I'm not saying that they are going to fail today, tomorrow, but ultimately, if they have nothing to eat, if they have nothing to fight over, what will they do? Or they will take some stupid step, like picking up cutgals with India, which may land them up in even more shit. One war takes you about 8-10 years back. The
Yeah,
situation of Pakistan was never like this except in 1975 following the surrender of Pakistani army. And that is what Pakistan Army Chief Munir is facing. Have I equated the two situations?
absolutely, sir.
Ignon-
I want to.
ignon- Ignominy of Bangladesh, that is the level of seriousness which Munir is facing, and therefore Munir seems to be remunerating what to do, what not to do in a situation like this, where parties have the guts to give statements, criticize the army of Pakistan. It was never heard. Imran Khan had the support to actually go against, give statements against the army, change people. It removed Munir, this current chief, and got Faiz Hamid there. That is the problem. That is the problem. Munir wants Imran Khan at any cost. He's pulling the strings from behind. You never know what may happen tomorrow. Thank you. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Sir, I have, I mean, you've explained the thing very, very interestingly, and you've brought in this historical aspect of it. The thing I kind of focus on, and guys, I'd like you to all think about what Sir said with regards to the no man's land between India and Afghanistan. And that's something which is very interesting to me because at the end of it, when you look at it, it's pretty much, in that same state of affairs. Only thing is, it's a no man's land with nuclear weapons. So that's where the challenge comes into play. So my question to you is, sir, there's a recent spate of activity with regards to eliminations that have been happening in Pakistan, and some very interesting names are coming out. We've never seen ISI chaps getting shot in the head in the middle of a market, in the middle of this thing. Today morning, there's one chap that has been killed. The
Yes,
entire
yes.
militant leadership of Hizbul, Lashkar-e-Toiba, and that another another organization. All three of them have taken a big hit as far senior commanders have been taken out. To the extent that one of these Khalistanis was also removed, if I may, removed due to a drug overdose in a Pakistani military hospital. Now, sir, can you hear me? Sir, can you hear me? All right, guys, I think we just had a little bit of a glitch. Let's have Sir come back and he will join back. Uh, by that time, guys, it have been a very interesting discussion. I'm going to ask the big question that I think a lot of us want to know about: why are so many people suddenly getting killed in Pakistan? So that's something that we will have to kind of find out when Sir comes back. But before that, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, guys. That's pretty important. We are, and spread the word for this channel. It's a slow and steady growing channel because we talk very, very differently from everyone else. So my request would be, please, please, please spread the word for this particular channel so that we kind of grow as fast as we can. Sir has joined us back. Sir, thank you so much. And of course, yes, guys, please do, if you can, please do support the Dev Talks efforts. Sir, आपका aspect ratio, if you can just, you're teda right now, sir. And I can't hear you. One second. I can't hear you, sir. Hello? Sir, can you hear me? I can't hear you again, sir. Wait, this is that same issue that we are having. Guys, I'll help sir sort this out. But as I was saying, if you can, please do help out the DevTalks efforts so that we can produce more and more and do a better job. Sir, can I request you to speak once again? I've just done a setting. No, may I request you just leave and rejoin, sir, so that it's I can pull you back in and sort this out. Mm, sorry, guys. Technology does sometimes play a game with us. We had no problems before the show, but suddenly something seems to have gone wrong. So we'll come back. So yeah, as I was saying, the interesting question that I'm going to ask about is the factor that why are so many people getting killed in Pakistan with regards to a whole lot of the top leadership of the terrorist organizations within India. You've got two ISI chaps that have got shot, and both of them in very very mysterious circumstances. One guy got shot in his head. Today morning, the guy got shot in his neck. So it was not a drive-by shooting or something like that. This is a targeted attack which has actually taken place. Uh, who's doing that? What is the motive? Is the ISI itself doing it? Is the Pakistani army trying to clear house, or is it the Taliban which is doing it? Because today mornings, this thing somebody has. I'm not sure. I don't have personal contact with the TTP, but as a matter of fact, they have said that the TTP has said that this is something that we were involved in. So the kind of spate of killings that have been happening in Pakistan is something very very interesting. We'll just wait for Sir to join back again. Sir is actually, by the way, I was really thankful that Sir could actually take out time for this show. Sir is traveling to a village, and um, Sir is traveling to the village, so you know, there's probably a little bit of a network connection issue. Okay, Sir is joined back in, but one second, I will. Yeah,
Can you get me? Can you hear me?
fantastic. We can hear you as well, sir.
Yeah, I told you, I'm in a place where internet is very,
I'm
very
I'm
weak.
grateful that you've taken out time, sir. So as I was saying, sir, before the network dies off again, let's just kind of run through it. Um,
Yeah.
these people are getting taken out in Pakistan. What's happening here, sir? Is
Yeah,
this the
I
ISI
read that.
self-directing, or is this something that we are?
See, we can't, at this stage, really, we can't say anything with positivity as to what is the reason for these, right? Uh, People will make conjectures. People will make conjectures. It could be. I mean, there are. I mean, if you ask somebody in Pakistan, he might say that the intelligence agencies are perfect. He would say that possibly the ISI has lost, say value as far as these guys are concerned. They want to promote some better people who can take much better action as far as Kashmir and other Kashmir problem is concerned. So sometimes this is the way the intelligence agencies of a country eliminate their own proteges, whom they rear them up for such a long period. Sometimes it could also be due to the pressures, international pressures. The US or the other agencies, FATF, etc., may be putting pressure that you are not taking action against terrorism, etc. So here it is. Fine, there are some terrorists who are being knocked off, who have lost their value, who've lost their value. They are no good for the nation as at that stage, as far as Pakistan is concerned. And lastly, it could also be that the TTP, which wants to operate across the Pakistani land. And they have said that, we would extend our influence across Pakistan. Now, if that be the case, they would not like groups which can counter them, okay, into these areas. So it could be a inter terror groups rivalry as well, which happens quite often, between terror groups as well. So I would not like to put a point at one issue that these are the guys who, or this is the reason why these guys are getting knocked off. It could be a inter-group rivalry which is taking place between the various groups. It could be that TTP is trying to dominate the land. I mean, dominate the landscape of Pakistan as far as terror outfits are concerned, and also extend its writ, because you see, these groups whom we are talking about have allowed Pakistan's normal public to live the way they want to live. Whereas TTP's one of the conditions is that they want, Afghan Taliban kind of a rule prevailing in the country. And what better way to do so than to eliminate their competition and then go after the main challenger, which is the Pakistani government and the Pakistani military. They would not like a counter game being played by elements similar to them. So that is also one of the possibilities. So I would leave it as an open ended thing. It is just started. We need to do a little more research and find out as to what are the reasons for it, who are responsible for it, and we should not. Definitely, I don't think India is behind all this, because see, India adopts a very moral high ground as far as
Mhm.
these activities are concerned. So India definitely out of the uh, out of the conjecture as far as I am concerned. I don't know about the others, but my view is that India is definitely not involved in all these shootings which are taking place. But within the Pakistan, like I said, it has no writ of law also prevailing there. So it's open field. Anybody and anyone can. I mean, they are brandishing guns. Yeah,
हाँ, खुले में.
black market of black market of guns in Pakistan is very very easy. Very easy availability of AK-47s in Pakistan.
Is that
So
gun
it's
markets in north of
yeah,
Islamabad?
absolutely. Why Islamabad? Every city of theirs would have gun markets. So therefore, these guys getting knocked off by them or by ISI could be any of these two. Could be any of these two.
So let's take a
It's a
few questions up.
yeah.
So it's an interesting comment, so I'll just put it out there. It's how to should India handle Pakistan? It's pretty simple. We build our own Great Wall. So that's nice.
Yeah, that came right to me. Uh, that is to
So
isolate yourself, but yeah.
yeah, Rahul asks, why doesn't India eliminate terrorists inside Pakistan like US does by precision airstrikes or drones? Why so much hesitation in targeting internationally declared terrorists?
It's also got something to do with capabilities. Very important thing in doing such activities is human intelligence. Now, unless you have intelligence in these, as far as these activities are concerned, you may end up hitting up somebody who is actually, and that will backfire on you. So, if you have the intelligence, why not? It can be done, but it will be done in such a way that you will not get involved in any activities which will
Hello. Oh, I think we lost sir. We'll just wait for him to join back. Hmm. India is still not fully 5G or 4G even in certain places. That's something that tells you. But interesting, touch sir is given about history, because at the end of it, one thing that we do realize that there is a bit of a challenge with regards to handling of Afghanistan. I used to always wonder, why is Afghanistan so important within the whole game of the scheme of things. One thing one must realize, that Afghanistan has always been the key of controlling the region. Reason is why, because the people have been very fiercely independent, and they've had the capabilities of creating trouble for you if you've not kind of been able to uh, you know get them going properly. So as sir was showing, there were only two or three kingdoms that were actually being able to control that region to a certain extent, but not physically on ground control. They used to pay off people and kind of keep the peace and keep their transit routes open within that place. To a large extent, the Americans were also doing that by the end of it, because they would actually pay certain Taliban leaders to not attack certain areas within Afghanistan, which were their logistical supply routes and stuff like that. So the Taliban would stay off those particular areas. The war used to happen in other places. As a matter of fact, there's also news about the factor that the Americans had paid the Taliban for them to be able to access the airport on the final day of the departure, when you know when this thing was happening. Thanks, Vasuki. I'll just message him as well, just to join in by audio. I think he's clicking again. I can, 1 second. Sergi. Oh, okay, okay. ठीक है sir. No worries, sir. No worries. No worries, sir. Cheers, sir. No worries, sir. Right, sir. Right, sir. Right, sir. I'm sorry, guys. I think his connection has really popped off. This is the jungle. This is at the end of it. He was in a village. Let me see if I can actually answer some of your questions that you've actually put across. Uh, I want to take this actually question up. How did Buddhism with non-violence at the core receive such widespread adoption and still thriving in an era dominated by multiple religions, military conquests, and their subsequent decimation? One thing about religion, the Buddhism was, it was able to assimilate within the society in a very very baseline and very very non-combative sort of a mode, and it got settled in within India, as well as it got settled in within Tibet, which gave the space and time for Buddhism to kind of thrive and sustain itself. Non-violence, yes, but the Buddhists of Tibet at a certain point in time did have a certain army, and they did have their own styles of fighting and stuff like that. But uh, the Kalinga statue, which everybody talks about, which is in Pakistan today, where Ashoka had said that this is after he converted to Buddhism, that I feel bad about what happened in the war. So many people died, but there is also a saying that he also had given orders to his armed forces that if there is further disturbance, the same action needs to be repeated. So non-violence, yes, to a certain extent, but it's been debated quite hardcore. Having said that, as I said, it permeated into the society in very, very small and quiet segments, which really didn't pose a threat to the ongoing battles. And that's why I think it in my opinion, it kind of just got left on the side and started off. Why did not uh, why not NIL act like Mossad in eliminating Pakistan supported terrorists? Mossad talks, our guys don't. I'd recommend, you guys can actually just Google it. Our snatch and grab operations, we've done many from Nepal and many other places. You can actually just Google. This is open-ended information. I'd done a video about this long, long time ago. I think about 2+ years ago. It's called "The Secrets of the Raw." If you want, you can take some details from there. But having said that, India is a more of a quiet sort of an operation. We don't kind of advertise the way a lot of other countries do. So that's how it is. Um, Gaurav says Pakistani deserve much more. Pakistanis deserve much more in what sense, Gaurav? I'm not sure, but yeah, deserve to get what they're going through much more. Fair enough. I'll agree with you. It is clear that the Khalistani movement got active only after Shahbaz Sharif came to power. Intellectuals and media should not try to hide the role of ISI in current Khalistani reactivation. There is no question. There is. Uh, I don't think Shahbaz Sharif knows K of Khalistan, but he probably knows what's happening. It is a ISI run operation, and I said sometimes these kind of things kind of go out of your control as well, because Khalistan today has become a, one thing about these kind of movements is once it becomes a self-sustaining movement where it gets a certain amount of money for its sustenance, it's easy to propagate. Having said that, I don't think this particular movement has been planned very well. It's a very loosely planned movement. It's not been to a point where things were flowing and the government was at a back foot, uh, or India was at a back foot. We've seen that happening during the CAA and during the farmers' protest. This has been quite an embarrassment of this thing. If you ask, you know, Punjab, if you ask people in Punjab, it's been quite an embarrassment as far as him running away is concerned. So, uh, lot many people are upset about the fact that he's running, but let me assure you, culturally and ethically, that's the best thing that he could have done for literally bringing this damn thing to the ground, and that's what he's done. Because people don't appreciate people running away from battlefields. I mean, nobody, I don't think many people supported him. Whoever did, a lot of them would have lost their respect for him as well. Even though Pakistan is in a perfect storm, I think you took that from Bilawal Bhutto. But all Pakistanis are united to create ruckus in India. Even on bankrupt, they're finding the unrest in India. Your thoughts? Absolutely, they will. That's the whole basis of Pakistan, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons why, if you remember, Minister Jaishankar had said that we cannot be anti someone. We have to be pro us, pro India. Pakistan's formation and the propagation of the system in Pakistan is anti-India. So the army, the this, the that, is got anti-India traits, and that's something which we must understand at all times. That it's if they remove India, then what is Pakistan? Okay, what I think what strategy can the civilian leadership adopt in order to overturn decades of military autocracy? Uh, that's a good one, buddy, because people tried that, and the last guy who did try it got hung. I don't know how far Imran Khan would be able to even penetrate these guys. Having said that, he has damaged the autocracy. There's no question about it. He's been able to damage it to a certain extent where things have actually taken a beating with regards to the reputation of the army and stuff like that. People didn't talk about the corruption of the army openly. Today it's being discussed. I mean, you've had people talking about it openly. So that's interesting to me, but it's too early to kind of say something, because let me assure you, it's damn easy for the Pakistani army to create nationalism within the country. All they'll do is to do something stupid with India. When India will retaliate, oh ho, ye wo, and all that stuff will start again. So, what would it take for the Taliban to become sympathetic towards Pakistanis and antagonist towards India? Well, Pakistan will have to give up the entire Pashtun lands and basically disrecognize the Durand line. That's one thing. Understand, no Taliban government or no Afghanistan government will ever accept is the Durand line. So that's the only way there will be some sort of sympathy coming in towards Pakistan. And remember one thing, people know, the Afghani people know what the Pakistanis did with them for the past 20 years. So that's something which is what they're doing right now is draining Pakistan. That's something uh, interesting. If Pakistan fails in the future, how difficult will it be taking POK GB for India? What is the roadmap, as China and Afghanistan are also interested in the same? Actually, we discussed this game with General Ryan, who actually gave us a nice presentation. You can watch that as well. It is a long-term affair. Even if Pakistan fails, the fate of POK and Gilgit-Baltistan will be in the balance, because China is actually sitting there, not just having interests. China has got its road going through that entire place. So it's going to be an interesting game. And I mean, I'm sure uh, at this point of time, we should be able to actually plan for a soft takeover, and that's something that should be important for us to realize. We cannot be looking for a military adventure, because that's going to create a lot of challenges. It has to be a soft thing where it just falls in your hand. Munir is activating Kharistani cells. Of course, he is. There's no question. ISI guys getting taken out is beyond fascinating. Oh wow, it means they've been betrayed. Yeah, that's the whole thing. There's. I asked this question, Don Saab, in the last program. Is Imran Khan kind of working with these TTP chaps? Is he got some connects? Because the kind of activities that have been taking place with regards to ISI in the past some time, two chaps getting killed in 2 months is not something that the ISI goes through very easily. And this guy has been said that the TTP has said we've done it, but it's a little interesting to see this kind of stuff which is happening. You also say mean the ISI is betrayed or otherwise wronged former partners. Yeah, TTP. I mean, TTP used to be. By the way, the TTP was quite a part of the Pakistani army's arsenal because they used the TTP to take out the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. There was this party, I forget the name. Their government, the top three leadership was taken out. So they've 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 used it. Why did AAP government? Well, I don't want to get into domestic politics, brother, but I think there's a little more to the situation that we can see. Let's wait it out before running to any conclusions. Pakistan is the most politically and economically, socially devastated country in the world. Mark, I know you're from Sri Lanka, and congratulations on the IMF bailout. You can actually say that about Pakistan today very, very clearly, and there is just no question about it. What you're saying is the 100% truth. But having said that, Pakistan still has a knack of surviving because about 40% of its economic churn within the country is in the black market. So people still have a lot of smuggled saman coming in for them to use. Sorry guys about General Dushant not being able to kind of finish up the show. I kind of thought we should be able to do this show even when he was in the village because we've shot there before. But I guess networks did play an affair. So, your thought on China's global security initiative challenge to global hegemony of USA? If China don't interfere in internal matters and contribute to development, why they won't succeed? Well, although this is not, part of the subject today, but Swaroop, I just take a minute and answer that question. Global security initiative, global peace initiative. This is just the Chinese rebranding themselves to try and see how they can actually put across a softer picture. The narrative is that the US creates wars, we resolve wars, which is an example that they gave with the Saudis and the Iranians. How long will that hold up and stay on? Uh, Another question. And what do the Chinese gain or lose if the Saudi Iran thing breaks down again? Is another question. Remember, when you uh, get in the middle of any two fighting partners, and if one of them is very close to you, you have an opportunity to get burnt, right? And that's one of the reasons why I've been saying for like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, India should not get into this negotiation business in Ukraine because both the sides are very close to us, and if one feels that he's been shortchanged, you'll get blamed for it. And in this kind of a heated, polarized geopolitical world today, it's not the right way to go. Chinese are, of course, trying to rebrand with this new team and this and that. The you know Chinese do interfere in internal matters. There's just no question about it because at the end of it, uh, the Chinese have ways of they've got police stations in different countries. They've got a whole lot of structure to interfere within your this thing without you even realizing what's happening. So that's something which is there. Tejas, thanks so much. When is Mr. De-dollarization making a comeback? I think in the next week, brother. I'll get him back. Uh, doesn't look like Pakistan is breaking, killing, bloodshed nowhere near what happened in Bangladesh when they split. In Bangladesh, there was a proper one leader. That's not the case. Exactly. So we've discussed three, four scenarios and three, four possible outcomes of a breakup of Pakistan: Lebanization, Somaliaization, and Balkanization of Pakistan. Where I personally feel the Somaliaization of Pakistan is something which could actually happen, which is the areas going forward. Whole an hour talk with General Ryan, he could explain it much better. recommend you have a check, and we'll be back. It's the interesting thing is that uh, you know with regards Pakistan, the interesting thing is that when people say that there's no killing and all that stuff, well, Soviet Union didn't have that as well. So things can just go on. I'm not saying that it'll go, and I'm not propagating that, or I'm not putting my money on it, but it can happen. So Adi, you just mentioned Pakistan as an act of surviving. Can I rephrase it? The West has a habit of keeping Pakistan alive because the former accords credit to Pakistan, which they don't deserve. Well, at the end of it today, right now, if you ask me, Ukraine is keeping them alive. They're sending 44 tanks to Ukraine. They are sending some ammunition and this and that. And of course, you can see the involvement of UK, which is very closely working with Pakistan today. So that's something that we need to remember. Is China the next superstar of the Islamic world? Will they really make the world non-Islamic? Really, man? Look what they're doing to the Xinjiang Muslims, and it's not that the Middle East doesn't know about it. It's about economics as well. The Middle East wants to sell oil, and the Chinese buy a lot of oil, so it kind of works, right? Thank you so much, guys, for joining in once again. My apologies for for the connection that General Dushyant connection issues that General Dushyant had. Uh, I hope you guys had a good show. This was an interesting dilemma and interesting twist of a narrative that we did when we spoke about the factor that it's India and Afghanistan with, you know, some country in the middle. For the moment, it's Pakistan. What will be in the future? We'll only have to look and see in the future itself. Before I sign off, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so that you get notifications. If you can, please do help out the Dev Talks efforts with the QR code right here, or you can become a member or send us a super sticker or super chat. Thank you so much, and Jai Hind. Oh, I think General Dushyant has just put in a message. I'm sure he got his network back. He says, breakup of Pakistan is not happening in a hurry. If anything happens, it'll be Pashtunistan. See what I said? Right? So, thank you so much, guys, and Jai Hind.